Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shaw.
Hello and welcome to the Women's Day podcast, a collection of all our best bits from the past 5 days. And it's been a bittersweet week as we've said goodbye to Kate and hello to Christy DeHaven, who's going to be joining the team in January. We've also been joined live in the studio by 2 oral health nurses, found out about plans to provide support to local single parents, and talked about Major Tim Peake blasting off to the International Space Station. But first, Nuala Perrin joined us in the studio. And as I mentioned, our guest wants to give us all some TLC, but in this case, that actually stands for the Lady Chauffeurs. And we are joined live by the woman who launched her own independent private hire enterprise last year. That sounds very grand, doesn't it, Nuala Perrin?
Thank you.
Did you pass your driving test first time, is what I want to know?
Yeah.
So you've always been quite confident out on the road, love being out in your...
Absolutely, and used to do different rep jobs and jobs where I was driving up and down England, and so it doesn't faze me driving. I actually find it quite therapeutic.
And what is it then about that just, I don't know, just made you want to make a full-time career out of it? Because it's a job that doesn't have set hours, first of all.
Yeah. I just felt that there was a bit of a need maybe for a female presence on the road in the evenings in the Isle of Man, and I went to work for Telecabs because I moved over here to look after my dad, and it suited me working nights. And the more and more I was out working in the evenings, the more and more girls would ask for me for my telephone number, and I didn't think it was very fair on Telecabs, so I spoke to them and then started up the Lady Chauffeurs and went out on my own.
We will be talking more about Lady Chauffeurs a little bit later, but I have to ask you, isn't one of the reasons that you really like doing this job is because you're a little bit nosy?
Yes, I'm very nosy. I like going into people's driveways and looking at people's houses and the plants they've got in the garden, and just getting to know about everybody. And we do a bit of a little counselling sesh, you know, and we've got mascara in the glove box, so if they've upset with a boyfriend or something, we just glam them up a bit and take them to a different nightclub. You know, it's all part of the service.
So what goes on in the cab stays in the cab?
Absolutely, with Lady Chauffeurs.
Well, people may guess from your accent, Nuala, you are originally from the East End of London. Did you never fancy taking on the knowledge and being a black cab driver over there?
That's so much training and so much knowledge. That I do like history, so I do know quite a lot about the Isle of Man, and I know quite a lot about London, but that's a really long serve apprenticeship. I think it takes 9 years now to actually fully pass the knowledge. So
it is something that they're considering getting rid of. What do you think of that?
I think that if you get a good taxi driver, they can save you money and they can show you places and they can take you to things. And I think it's learned. I think Uber and the other stuff that's coming along is I use it when I'm abroad because, you're not going to get ripped off, and everything that, you know where you're going, you can see where your taxi is, you don't get that, I'll be 10 minutes and they're half an hour. So, yeah, every industry's got to move on, hasn't it, really?
What about sat-navs then? Do you think your typical sat-nav is as good as someone who passed the knowledge?
No, not really, because they can't give you the information about the areas. And even on the Isle of Man, there's taxi drivers that have been here for years. Even on the sat-nav, you can't find it, and you ask one of them and they know where it is immediately. So, they're fantastic.
So tell me about little Nuala then. What was your childhood like growing up in East London?
It's really fun. Believe it or not, my mum was a novice nun, so it was quite religious upbringing we had, and she went into closed orders and she prayed for 4 years, and then she decided it wasn't for her. So if you said to my mum, what's the date today? She'd say she was Irish, and she'd say it was a Feast of the Holy, whatever it was, and so she brought us up to have sort of a belief that you can do anything that you want to do, as long as you don't hurt anybody or do anything like that, just help everybody and your life would be great. So we had, all 4 of us, I was the eldest, and it was just amazing, absolutely amazing.
And what was it that you wanted to do?
I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. But I thought you just played with the dolphins in the swimming pool. I didn't realise you had to train for 8 years to be a vet and then do another 2-year course after that. So that went out the window quite quickly. I was like, really? Oh, life's too short.
But I love the fact you actually did look into it. You took
I
it quite
did.
seriously.
Yeah. My mum said, pursue it and see what you think, and then we'll sit down and talk about it. And she said, what do you think? I said, no, I don't want to do that anymore.
So what was the second choice then?
I was always in retail and quite creative. I went to art school, got art degree.
Well, you went to art school, and didn't you get most promising student of the year?
Yes, organising all. That's only because I ran the bar and organised all the gigs and stuff like that. So it was like, I'll leave it to Nuala. She'll organise that. She'll sort that out. And that's really how my life's been. The path's just evolved. You know, going from being the youngest manager in Topshop and Oxford Circus to being the assistant to the project manager on the Channel Tunnel. I don't know how that happened, but it just moved along, and being a taxi driver on the Isle of Man, it just happens. Life happens, doesn't it? You just roll with it.
Well, just tell me about that Topshop job that you had in Oxford Circus. I mean, did you realise I don't know, how important that was at the time?
No, and I was running concessions like when I was 16 and helping with windows and at store openings and things like that. And there's a thing in Topshop called a cost centre report. And at 16, it's like a profit and loss. I was reading those. And I think that's what was ingrained in me from quite a young age, about how to make money and how to be more profitable. And no matter what happens, especially I've done a lot of project management in my time, no matter what happens, the project's got to be delivered on time. You've just got to find a way around it or a new way of doing it. And I have to say, I think that all came from sort of the Topshop background. You know, it was an amazing company to start off with, you know.
You mentioned you came over here in 2008 to look after your dad.
Yeah.
That was quite a difficult time for you.
Yeah, my mum had passed, and being the eldest, it sort of all fell to me. And then we thought that my dad, because dads are supposed to be big, strong and brave and not feel anything, we were all busy grieving ourselves, and then we came over and saw the way that Dad was, and we hadn't really considered him because he was ship's captain. He'd been away all his life, and he'd retired from the sea. And then my mum died. He needed a bit of looking after. He looked after us. He used to be a diver in California, and when he met my mum, I came along. They got married, and he gave all that up. And so it's only right that you look after your parents, isn't it? I think anyway. So we stayed and looked after him.
But your husband still works away, so you kind of have that long distance marriage at the moment. How has that worked?
So romantic. We've been married 10 years but lived apart for sort of 6 of those.
So would you say that's a secret to a happy marriage?
Absolutely.
It sounds like it worked for your parents as
Yeah,
well.
it did,
so.
yeah. Well, I think that's it. I'm used to not having a man around, so it's quite, but it's lovely to have him around, and he's wonderful. And,
just get that in quickly.
Yeah, get that in quickly.
I mean, there's so much to talk to you about. You worked at M&Co over here, so still kept in with that retail. You were massively involved in charity fundraising. You got a Heroes in the Community Award. You're a TT Marshal. I mean, there's so much to what you do. I mean, how do you define yourself, Nuala Perrin, on a day-to-day basis?
I don't really know. Just I have to be engaged. I get bored and naughty very quickly. I'm like a child.
Ooh,
really.
Are there any stories?
Not on air. And so I'm used to project management, so I like to do things. Also, I've worked all my life, and I'm 52 now. I've never had any children, so I've never ever had any career breaks. So you're looking at a CV of someone who's sort of from the age of 15 till 52 has always worked and just got on with things, really. If someone needs some help or something, I'll just...
You're pretty glammed up today, still interested in fashion?
Yeah.
How would you describe the Isle of Man's fashion on a general basis?
Isle of Man's fashion. Actually, you're quite trendy, and Topshop does really well here. It was a crying shame that what was that girl's shop that pulled off the island?
Probably can't mention it anyway. But
No. I'm sorry, can't mention it. Yeah. So there's, but actually, and it's very glamorous. Lots of people at night time, you'll see them out in their finery and dicky bow ties. They'll be in the outback with a tuxedo on. A girl will be in the outback with the ball gowns on.
In your tux.
Yeah. So I think it's quite on trend, quite on trend, I think.
Well, Nuala, thank you so much for being our guest this afternoon. Thank you even more for the little stash of sweets that you brought in. Can't help noticing, though, you've already been into the macaroons.
Yeah, they were lovely. Is
that the naughty streak
That was
in
the
you?
naughty streak.
We're going to tease some stories out before the end of the show, I'm quite confident. You're listening to Women Today on Manx Radio FM, and something rather exciting happened this morning.
Ramping up to flight speed. And liftoff. Liftoff of Tim Koper, Yuri Malenchenko, and Timothy Peake on their way to the International Space Station.
Yes, Major Tim Peake blasted off into orbit on board the space capsule from Kazakhstan. The 43-year-old is on his way to becoming the first British astronaut to visit the International Space Station. He's going to stay there for 6 months, conduct dozens of experiments, and he's going to be orbiting 240 miles above the Earth. Setting off at 11:03 this morning, the three-man international crew reached orbit in just 9 minutes. Their journey is expected to last just 6 hours. The takeoff was watched by his wife, 2 children, and his parents, and speaking beforehand, his mum Angela was really rather excited for him.
We used to joke when this first started. I said, I wish you could be a banker and work in a bank, then I'd know where you were every day. But no, this is his dream, and he's lucky enough to be able to fulfil it.
As was his friend Phil Towell.
Nobody's too nervous, everybody's just extremely positive and excited, and that's really come from Tim. He's got no fear whatsoever. He spent 6 years training for this moment. Get up there, he really is.
His brother-in-law Dave O'Connor says Tim is a great ambassador for the British space industry.
Incredibly dedicated and professional in everything that he does, and he works very hard at it. But he's also a really nice bloke as well, and with a great sense of humour.
And that's something Tim Peake's been stressing in interviews too, because writing in the Mirror yesterday, he said,
I'm about to achieve the greatest dream of my life. Tomorrow I will leave Earth to fly to the International Space Station. It is a great honour to become one of only a handful of British astronauts, but I'm already looking at trying to inspire the next generation. Somewhere in Glasgow, Manchester, London or Birmingham, there is a young boy or girl who will hopefully fulfil their dream like I am.
Or maybe someone from the Isle of Man, who knows. What do you think, though? Did you watch that takeoff earlier? Is it going to inspire a new generation of space travellers? Should we actually be encouraging more young people to consider a career in science, engineering, or even as an astronaut? Let us know what you think. Women Today at manxradio.com. You can text 166 177 or head to Facebook, and we are at MR Women Today on Twitter. Kate, you did watch it this morning. Quite exciting.
I did watch it, and do you know what? It was amazing. It was absolutely incredible, and just the build up to it. I was watching the live stream, and it was just really, really, really emotional. And I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of well up and cry because it was just so exciting. And there's something still so kind of mysterious and magical about the idea of going into space. Saying that, the actual idea of doing it is the most disgusting, horrible, terrifying thought. It makes my palms sweat just to think about being in a rocket and being that far from home and not being able to just run away. And I find it genuinely. It makes me feel sick, the thought of being in space.
What a great noise that was.
Thank
Jo,
you.
did you watch Takeoff?
I actually thought it'd be a good Joe on the Go feature for next year. I think we were discussing that in the office before, weren't we? Seamus 6 years training for it, though, and I'm definitely not fit enough. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I was listening to it. It came from nowhere. Suddenly this morning, this guy's going to space, and yesterday I didn't know anything about it. I think I missed something. But really, really exciting. The point I loved was when his mum said, she's more worried about him going on the M27 every day than actually going up into space. It broke my heart, though, hearing his son, who's only 4 years old, crying and, saying, let me go with you, Daddy. And that's really hard. But 6 months, so we'll go in no time.
I think that is the thing that would really get me as well. But I tell you, my eldest son was really excited about this morning. He was watching Newsround. He's actually addicted to Newsround. Can
Very
you be addicted
sensitive.
to Newsround?
Yes, you absolutely can be addicted to Newsround. It might make you follow a career into broadcast journalism.
Nuala, you were told when you were younger that you could do whatever you wanted. Did you ever consider a career in space?
In space, no. It's too scary. I think I'm with you on that one.
Well, you don't feel like acting like a human guinea pig?
But I think it's really interesting when we're thinking about inspiring the next generation, because Tim Peake is also encouraging children to get involved with his training regime, and he's going to be training for 2 hours, I think it is, a day aboard the space station. And over the 6 months he's there, he's asking children children to cover the 250 miles from space to Earth. So whether that's on a bike, running, walking, I'm guessing you think that might be a good idea, Jo. Maybe.
I think it's a great idea.
That's a challenge for you, love. Eh?
Yeah, if I was fit enough. That's a great idea, isn't it? It's a huge inspiration because he's also going to be doing the marathon, isn't he, while he's up there? And what an inspiration. And also, as you say, to younger kids, and definitely they should get on board and do it.
I think this is a really great opportunity for schools to get involved in this and to get really excited about this, because I think you can talk as much as you want about, say, physics or maths or engineering and science, but to actually see someone putting all of that work into action, it makes what you learn at school actually seem important, and like it will make a difference in real life.
Do you know, something else that really grabbed us this morning was Tim Peake's mission with his musical taste, really, because as he waited for blast off, he listened to Queen's Don't Stop Me Now, as well as Beautiful Day by U2 and Coldplay's A Sky Full of Stars. So very quickly, if you were waiting for takeoff, what would you be listening to, Kate?
Do you know what? I am absolutely terrified of flying. I hate going on a plane, and I was on a plane where I left my my headphones in the seat arm on their jukebox on a long haul flight, and I woke up to hear Free Falling.
Tom
So
Petty.
yeah. So anything that doesn't relate to flying, so no kind of flying without wings or anything like that.
Jo, what would you be listening to?
It has to be Elbow One Day Like This or Take That Greatest Day.
Nuala?
Rocket Man.
Interesting choice. Let us know what your choice would be. 166 177. You can email womentoday@manxradio.com. Tim Peake was overwhelmed with messages of support from politicians and celebrities, and Elton John actually tweeted him, from one rocket man to another.
No.
Good luck.
Yay.
She packed my bags last night, pre-flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m. And I'm gonna be high as a kite by then. I miss the earth so much, I miss my wife. It's lonely out in space on such a timeless flight. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh no, 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 I'm a rocket man, burning out his fuse out every home.
Now, at this time of year, possibly more than any other, it must be incredibly difficult to be on your own. And if you're a single parent, especially so. Well, a little later, we're going to be hearing about an organisation which is going to be set up over here to support single parents by giving them guidance, information and hopefully friendship. And it's our guest today who is behind it all. Carrie Yates, where did the idea to set up a local branch of the UK-based charity Gingerbread actually come from?
Hello, thanks for having me. It's just come from my own experiences and the experiences of friends and people that I know, that sometimes, you bump into another single parent and they sort of look as strained as you, and you think, wouldn't it be good if actually I could speak to people more that know the same struggle that I'm trying to face as well, and get together, make more friends, have a bigger support network, and your kids can all play together whilst you're attending these groups.
Tell us about your own situation then. What happened to you?
Well, I've been a single parent for most of my son's life. I've just got one son. His name's Dylan. He's 8. And it's the classic thing, really. You've got all the struggles, and every child has a different... You could all be a single parent, but every single person has got a totally different story, whether it's postnatal depression or something that you've faced for a long period of time, or a child's illness that really shape what kind of parent you end up being. And I think single parents as well have that big guilt association and that big feeling of having to be, multifunctional. I can do everything, and you've got to fill a father's role as well as your own mother role. It's really difficult. But for me, it's been a difficult 8 years, no denying that. But it has got easier, and I feel like I'm in a position now where, not that I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in parenting, just like to make that very clear, I'm not. But I feel like I could probably provide some support to other people, and hopefully might even get support from other people as well if I'm having a tough time.
I mean, Karen, you mentioned postnatal depression there, and that's something that you suffered after the birth of your son. What do you actually remember about those first few weeks and months of his life?
Very little, to be honest. It is kind of like the first year or two of Dylan's life, to me, are where everything happened and everything changed. And now, honestly, it's something I have a very small amount of memory of. I didn't really take many photos. My parents took pretty much all the photos that I have of Dylan of those ages. It's sort of filed away, I think, in my head. I have small snippets of memory, but most of it's literally just gone away. I think my own mind just pushed that away once I recovered from postnatal depression. So.
And how long had you been with Dylan's dad before the separation?
We'd been together 4 years. It was very much a sort of young love. And we actually, we get on pretty well. We've got a lot in common, so we can be friendly to each other. But we struggle a lot. But yeah, we'd been together 4 years, and then unfortunately it just didn't work out after everything changed when I had Dylan. So.
And in terms of working out who was going to look after Dylan, I guess there was no suggestion that it wasn't going to be you who was going to be his primary carer.
No. And it wouldn't have been, obviously, that I think we would all agree that most of the time the child does need to stay with their mum. But no, there was no two ways about it. I think that's the case in most situations, though, isn't it? So
I think we were reading statistics today which suggested that 90% of single parents are actually women.
Yeah.
So it would seem to be the norm, if you like.
I think single dads are more common now, though. I know at least 5 single parenting dads, but it's strange because all of those single parent dads seem to have them 100% of the time, whereas obviously if you're a single mum, a lot of us still have that time where our kid goes off for however long they go to see dad. A lot of single dads that I've met don't have that time, actually.
And in terms of things like sorting out access, again, speaking for yourself, how easy has it been to arrange things like that? I'm thinking particularly at a time like Christmas when it must be really difficult having to share your child.
Yeah, it is difficult. I mean, I think every couple or, split up couple have a slightly different situation though, because it all depends on what's happened, how connected your feelings are to the situation. Our feelings and emotions aren't connected to it at all, so it's all quite practical, which is great. But for most people, I don't think that's the case at all. I think you're still really emotional. Everybody's highly fraught with emotions, but I've found that we've had difficult spells, especially at first, but I've had a long period of time now where Dylan's got pretty good stability, really.
Do you think that time is an important part of the process, I guess, to get your head around what's happening, to sort out all those kind of logistical issues?
Well, it's a massive life adjustment. You know, when you get, most of us, it's very rare that you get pregnant and know that you're going to be a single parent. It is really rare. So you've planned it to be one way. It's like any change that gets thrown at you, isn't it? But this is one of the biggest changes of life, really. Suddenly you're going to be a parent with someone, and the next minute you're like, oh my God, I've got to do this by myself.
How does it compare to your own upbringing, Carrie?
Totally different. My parents are married, still married now, have very much been together and done things together as a family throughout my childhood. So this is totally different.
And you talked about guilt and the guilt you feel as being a single parent. What sort of things are you specifically talking about there?
I mean, more like you're constantly second-guessing yourself. You think, would it be different if me and Dylan's dad were still together? What would we do differently? And just feeling like, am I providing the child with everything that they need or not? But you've got to tell yourself you are. You've got to do that.
And what would you say then are the main challenges that being a single mother really poses for you?
There's so many. It's hard to define. But I think the main challenges is going to work or choosing not to work. That's enormous, and it really affects everything else. Stuff like childcare, that's also a nightmare, because a lot of the time single parents work purely to pay childcare. I know I did. Up until Dylan was about 5, I was paying purely just to pay I was working just to pay the nursery. But do you want a career? If you want a career and you're committed to it, you've got to decide to stick with that. Everything's an issue, but it's the same with the parent who's got 2. If there's 2 of you, you've got all the same issues. It's just that you haven't got that second person to help you make those choices.
So we're going to be talking about Gingerbread a little bit later, and that is really aiming to, as I say, reach out to single parents, not just women. I mean, obviously, it's more likely to be women who, I guess, will naturally gravitate towards a group like that. There wasn't a group like that though when Dylan was very small. So where did you get your support from?
I got most of my support from my parents are so dedicated to Dylan. They absolutely adore Dylan, and the same with Dylan's dad and Dylan's family as well. But my friends as well, my friends who have got young kids especially, like I've got a couple of really, really good best mates who have been to my house. Like my best mate Stacey, she's amazing. When I had postnatal depression, she was in my house pretty much most evenings, sitting through Dylan's colic with me. So the screaming the house down, and me like not always dressed, struggling to keep a lid on it all. And she would sit through the night with me. She's got her own kids. She's brilliant. So I don't know where I'd be without that support.
Women Today, brought to you by citywing.com for your next flight away.
Now, we want to know if you think under 16s should be banned from using Facebook. Well, by the end of this week, it could be illegal for any European child who's under 16 to use Facebook or Snapchat or any other messaging service without the express consent of their parents or guardians. But is that really a good idea? Let us know what you think. Women Today at manxradio.com. You can text 166 177 or go to Facebook or Twitter. Now, this ruling would be the result of increasing the digital age of consent from 13 to 16. And basically, the digital age of consent really means that children under 13 are given extra protection online, which is why the likes of Facebook haven't allowed children to join until they become teenagers. So the European Parliament is considering this change, but both social media companies and many child protection experts don't think it's going to work. Jason Roberts has got more details for us.
A last-minute amendment to Europe's data protection regulation says the processing of personal data of a child below the age of 16 years shall only be lawful if and to the extent that such consent is given or authorised by the holder of parental responsibility over the child. So, in other words, online firms won't be able to deal with anyone under 16 until they have the permission of parents or guardians. According to several online safety experts, however, this will make children more vulnerable, not less. In an open letter, they say changing the age limit would deprive young people of educational and social opportunities in a number of ways, yet would provide no more and likely even less protection. And others argue that social media has provided a vital lifeline for troubled teenagers, and the risk is now they won't be able to go online in search of help.
Well, Jason Roberts with those details there. We appreciate there are plenty of children already using Facebook and the like with and without parental consent. So I think it's worth asking if changing the age limit is going to make any difference anyway. So what do you think? Should under 16s be banned from using Facebook? Is asking for parental consent going to stop teenagers? Let us know your thoughts on this one. 166 177 Women Today at manxradio.com, or head to the Women Today Facebook page. There's something quite ironic about that, I think. Or we are at MR Women Today on Twitter. Jo, you've got a teenage daughter. Do you think her having to ask for your consent would make any difference at all?
No, I'm afraid not. She would just fake permission, basically, if need be. I'm not sure how this can possibly be achieved when the age consent is 13, but still you've got 8, 9-year-olds doing it. And obviously if it's linked and it needs parental permission to be on at 16, I'm not quite sure it's going to make any difference. One thing that I pick up from the news story there is deprive them. It's depriving kids if we take them off Facebook. How is it depriving them?
I don't agree with that either. I think, we manage fairly well without the social and educational whatevers of Facebook.
Yeah, but it wasn't there then.
Yeah, but we don't suffer from
exactly, but it's not like everyone else had something that you didn't. It's like I think there is a really important educational part of social media in terms of socialising and being involved. And if everyone else is doing something and you're not, you are missing out on the kind of educational lessons that you learn through that type of socialising.
You're missing out on a lot of conversations that your friends are having without your participation.
Yeah, but you could be having those conversations in real life.
But if you're the only one? That's the thing. I think you are then depriving a child.
But this is the point, is that they wouldn't be the only one. And as a parent, I mean, obviously my children aren't anywhere near that age, and please God, I hope they haven't got Facebook already, but you'd never know, would you? But
they've added me, Beth. They've sent me a friend request. The oldest one keeps poking me, so I don't know, no idea what's going on.
But, I would feel a lot more secure, I think, and I know I've said this in conversations that we've had before. I would really like there to be an age limit.
But there is
16. Yeah, but 13.
Yes,
no,
there is.
13 is too young. In my opinion,
even
it's too young.
even 10-year-olds are on it with a 13-year-old
date of birth.
They fake their dates of birth. So even though it's 13, they're still going on at 10. They just fake it. And how are they going to get parents' permission? Do we have to write a letter to Facebook, or how do they actually guarantee that it's from us? Do they link? One thing I thought of yesterday, we had this discussion about it, even just yesterday, as I said, the possibility is that they link it to the parent's account. So that's the way that they get permission. Because how else can they guarantee they've got parental consent?
I just think as well, like, it goes back to the fundamental point that if you ban someone from doing something and say you can't do that until you're 16, you've just made it 10, 100 times more attractive at 14 to go, oh, look at me, I'm breaking the rules by doing this, if you weren't that interested in the first place.
So then what's the point in having an age limit at all? Let's just say, you know what, you can go on Facebook as soon as you can use an iPad, which for some people is like...
That is basically happening. That is basically happening. Now, you say the art of conversation. It's interesting because my son last night was doing a carol concert and he had to wait around in the back in the gym area maybe before he went on stage for a couple of hours. And he said, can I take my iPad? And I said, but the thing is before we had iPads, we'd sit and chat. What did we do when we were hanging around at school waiting to go up on stage? We weren't on our iPads, and I had this vision of all these kids just sat there, as they do, all on their iPads and not talking.
That's what they'll be doing. They look like drones.
Yes.
But the thing is, and I don't know how you feel, Carrie, but I mean, I had quite an idealistic view, I suppose, of what sort of parent I was going to be. We were never going to let them play on their iPads on their boat journey. They'll just be out
never
playing.
Eat sweets and chocolate either. That never happened.
So I don't know. I do though really worry that we are breeding a generation of children who do not know how to communicate properly. And somebody said to me once, is that what they find with young people nowadays is that you say hello to them and they barely grunt back at you because
they've been saying that about teenagers forever, though, haven't they?
It is quite true. If they've got a head in their phone, though, it is a bit different.
But they've been saying these kind of things. Oh, that new generation have got this, and they don't know how to do this anymore. And I think we really, really have to be careful that we're also all on Facebook, and we're doing that as well, Beth, aren't we?
Not in the morning. I've kept stuck to my New Year's resolution.
One thing. Sorry.
Okay. Go on, Jo. It's fine. We've lost the ability, the skill of conversation.
Obviously, we have. We don't know how to communicate. That's the problem.
I am the Facebook generation. I've clearly lost the art of communication. So
you just grunt at us every day in the office as well. One thing that I have noticed for definite that's different now, though, is play dates. Kids don't have as many play dates from the ages probably of 9-10 years upwards because, in actual fact, they're communicating on social media, whether it's going direct messaging on Instagram or it's on Snapchat. Kids don't come round to each other's houses as much, and they're not socialising face to face because they all do it through a screen.
That's the thing. I'm not saying that I think that's brilliant. I think, of course, young people need to learn how to communicate with each other, learn how to communicate face to face, learn how to communicate with adults. But the fact is, they are still communicating. They're just doing it in a way that was different to how we did as children. And I think the problem with this, to go back to the idea of banning under 16s, is then what do they do if they get into trouble online at the age of 14 and 15, and they someone sends them a message they don't want to receive, or someone approaches them online? They have already broken a rule by being on the internet and being on social media. How can they then come to you and ask for help if they've already broken the rules that you've set?
But they're doing it there at 10 anyway. As I say, there's 10-year-olds on Facebook, and it should be 13 that they need the permission to be on Facebook as well.
I'm with you. I don't think it will make any difference.
It's not going to make any
limit.
difference.
I think, again, it just makes it more and more appealing.
You say that at least they're communicating. However, if I'm honest with you, they don't know how to communicate, because they read things very, very differently to how it should be said. Because if you're sat in front of somebody and you've got a smile on your face and you're saying something as a joke, they appreciate maybe that it might be a joke, but if it's written in text, they're not mature enough to understand the meaning of it.
Yeah, but I just think we are overdoing that kind of idea, because you think about it, people always wrote letters. People have always communicated.
You didn't write letters to each other when you were 10 years old, between each other when you went home at school. When you went home after school, you wrote a letter to each other.
In fact, you have pen pals and stuff. We've always communicated through the written word. We're not doing anything differently. It just happens to be online. We're still communicating.
It's excessive. You don't write to your school friends when you get home and then see them the next day. These guys don't stop communicating. They actually sometimes need a break.
Yeah. Do you know what? I really would be happier.
I can't wait for Kate to have children. Sorry.
I would be happier if the legal age was 16. It would just make me feel a little bit better that there was some idea that actually just don't do it till then, please.
Do you not just think they'd be I completely understand. Of course you don't want them to be online, but do you not think then if you ban them until they're 16 and then you've kind of kept them away from it, and suddenly at 16 they go into it completely bright-eyed and naive?
These would be a bit more mature.
Yeah, but at least then
they'll be a bit
16,
more mature,
aren't they? And I just think if everybody is banned, then nobody's going to feel that they're the only one left.
But they'll
out.
just create a new social media site and a new one and a new one. They will.
I don't like it.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Dave's texted say Facebook's killing conversation. How many of your so-called friends do you really care about what they're doing? Most people swipe through Facebook's stuff unless it is a close friend. What are the people's thoughts on this thing?
Yeah, Susie says it's ridiculous. It would just make it more interesting and exciting if you were to put the ban to the age of 16. She goes on to say parents should talk to their children about the pros and cons of social media and encourage them to consider how they use it. Some adults are as ill-informed, if not more so, than 15-year-olds. And Carol says, nope, they are addicted from 5 to 6 years old to computers, etc. And it is the parents who have encouraged and allowed them to use iPads and phones.
Now, do you know what? This text makes me feel a little bit better. The word ban is a word that frustrates me. Educate is a word I like. So instead of telling children they can't, why not teach them about the positives and negatives? I have 6 children who have all grown up in this new world that frightens our generation. We live in this romantic world that it was so much better in our day. Facebook is like a front door, but all front doors have keys. Use them.
Oh, well said.
That is text of the day, I think. Now, I think I may have mentioned before how worried I get when I take my children to the dentist. And even though I think as a family we're pretty good when it comes to having a dental routine and brushing their teeth, I do have that fear that when they sit down, the dentist is going to take one look in their mouths and say, nope, sorry, all their teeth need to come out. So we are going to be talking about oral health today, everything from safe snacks to the importance of a home dental routine. And we are joined live in the studio by 2 oral health nurses, Charlie Romans and Patricia Newson. Thank you so much for being here. Particularly liking the festive jumper there, Charlie.
I'm feeling very Christmassy today.
Oh, love it. When you tell people what you do for a living, can you sense them checking out your smile?
Definitely.
Yes.
Everyone does.
Can I just
Hide
ask you, have you got any fillings?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I feel a bit better actually. We have been so stressed downstairs, sort of talking like this and not actually wanting to smile at you. I mean, is that normal behaviour?
It is.
It is when we meet people, yes. Yeah.
What exactly then, Charlie, does your day job involve?
Through day, we assist the dentist providing care for the patient. We also, most of our job, I'd say, is communicating with the patient, making sure that they're as relaxed as possible so the experience for them is comfortable. And education, as prevention is the key job for our role anyway.
And Patricia, what was it that made you want to go into a job like this?
I'm not sure actually. When I started off on working at a dentist on a Saturday when I was still at school, and it wasn't something I thought, oh, I'll be a dental nurse. But once I had got that job, I just love it. It's been a brilliant job for me, and I really enjoy working. So yeah, I'm really happy that I kind of fell into it, but it's worked out really well for me.
And Charlie, what about you? How did you get into it?
Same as Patricia, actually. I just kind of fell into it, but it's quite addictive once you started. And I really enjoy helping people. That's the main thing. And also, once we started gaining more qualifications, that's always helped as well. It keeps an interest in the job and the specialist areas that we can get into.
And in terms of training them, what do you actually need to do to become an oral health nurse?
You need to do the NEBDN qualification for dental nursing, and you also have to be working within a dental practice as well, so you can gain the experience required. And at the end of that, you'd go away and do an exam and hopefully get your qualification.
Now, we do hear some pretty shocking statistics about the state of children's teeth here on the island, particularly I'm thinking when it comes to under fives. What, Patricia, is the general situation?
On our last survey, the situation for the Isle of Man was we had 29% of 5-year-old children had experienced tooth decay. So it kind of works out as in a child's mouth, they would have more than one tooth that would either be decayed, missing, or a filled tooth. We kind of compare to the northwest of England, which is kind of one of the worst areas in the UK. Their average would be 1.29, so we're just a little bit under what they would be. But so if we go in and look at a children's mouth, we will find almost all children will have had some experience of decay.
Why would you say then it is so bad over here?
I think it's just a kind of an education thing, and it is hard. We like to provide our children with nice things, and sugary foods and drinks are nice, and children enjoy them. We enjoy them, and so it is just getting the message across that sugary things frequently cause tooth decay, and if we can restrict when we have the sugary things to a meal time, so breakfast, lunch and tea time, and the in-between times have the non-sugary things, then that's one of the main ways of helping to prevent tooth decay. And the other way, of course, is toothbrushing.
Mm-hmm. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm under the impression that in the UK they add fluoride to the water, and we don't here on the Isle of Man. I mean, is that adding to all of this?
We don't add fluoride into the water on the Isle of Man. It is quite a contentious issue. Some people are for it, some people against it. There are areas in the UK where it has been added. It sometimes occurs naturally in water, but it's not something that is once, I don't think it would ever happen on the Isle of Man. So you can actually get enough fluoride by brushing really well twice a day.
Should they be conscious of what toothpaste they use, though? Because when I first moved back over here, my friends were saying make sure that as a child that they don't use the children's toothpaste, they use adults' toothpaste.
That's correct, yeah. We would always recommend, and in fact we call it family fluoride toothpaste now. So the fluoride content should be 1450 parts per million fluoride. You can have access to lower amounts, but we would always recommend the higher amount. And also for children under 3, we would recommend a smear on the toothbrush, whereas over 3, a pea-sized amount. If someone has got a higher risk of tooth decay, then a high strength fluoride can be prescribed by the dentist, but that would be patient specific for them.
I'm interested in what you said there, Charlie, about somebody having a higher risk of tooth decay, because I would say that I've got some friends whose children have experienced tooth decay, and I know that their dental routine is pretty good. Are some people just more susceptible?
It can be for other reasons. It's if they had a medical condition or a physical disability, things that could impact maybe their oral health regime, that sort of thing. For example, someone that has cystic fibrosis that might have to have a higher calorie intake, doesn't necessarily mean higher sugar intake, but if they're still consuming more calories, it can impact their risk factors. But we always take that into account as well for that person as well. So that would be the higher risk categories.
Just going back to the toothpaste, how do you convince a 12-year-old who doesn't like the taste of mint to use toothpaste?
Well, actually, it doesn't have to be a mint one. So Tesco's
do their own branded toothpaste, so it's like strawberry ice cream flavour, and it actually has the right amount of fluoride in it. So it has the 1450 parts per million of fluoride. So it's actually the amount rather than the flavour. It's the fluoride amount that you're looking for.
That's really
in
interesting.
toothpaste.
I've looked at those and thought they can't be good, surely,
Yeah.
for them. They must have
No.
sugar in them.
Yeah.
But they're actually okay.
It is. It's the if you look on the label for the amount of fluoride, that's what you'll want to look for.
And I did hear as well that actually, we tend to think that the more expensive brands are the ones that we should be going for, but that's not necessarily the case either.
No, that's not the case. As long as it has the correct amount of fluoride in it, it doesn't matter the cost of it. So you can, like Patricia said, it was the Tesco's own brand that had the correct amount of fluoride. So it doesn't have to be big amounts of money.
Or the generic toothpaste ones, from anywhere. If you just look at the amount of fluoride, that's the key.
Do you think we all get a bit kind of brand loyal when it comes to our toothpaste? I think it's one of those things that we find a toothpaste we like. It's probably one we've had for quite a long time, and we just keep getting the same one. And we're a bit scared, I think, sometimes to try a new toothpaste.
Until your teeth become really sensitive and you go to that well-known brand that you have, and I think that comes with age.
We're going to be asking specific questions about a dental health routine a little bit later. If you've got any questions, do get in touch with us, womentoday@manxradio.com, or you can text 166 177. You can also go to Facebook or Twitter. The other thing when we think about our teeth is obviously a fear of the dentist, and this is a pretty common, I would say. How do you deal with that, Charlie, when you've got a patient who really would rather be anywhere but the dentist's chair?
The main thing is just a bit of TLC with them, to be honest, speaking to them about what they're afraid of and trying to come to where we work, we have other options available if they are frightened of coming to the dentist, sort of sedation that we can provide. But that, again, would be like person specific, that we would go through that with them. But I find just a bit of TLC goes a long way, and speaking to the person, anyone else that attends the dentist, all us guys as well, we know how frightening it can be. It's someone in your personal space. So just speaking to them and trying to make them feel more comfortable, talk to them about anything and just relax them that little bit.
And as a parent, I mentioned how scared I get when my children go, just in case there is anything wrong with their teeth. And, I have got that fear of being judged.
Yeah, and everyone does when they come in. But we try and comfort people we're not judging them at all. We're just trying to give advice to prevent anything from happening in the future. We don't judge.
We don't.
Okay, it's a bittersweet moment now, people. On the one hand, I am very excited to be revealing who the new member of the Women Today team is going to be. But on the other, it means I have to acknowledge the fact that Kate is actually leaving.
Yep.
I'm going to give you the face. I'm giving you the face.
I've been feeling the face for a long time now. Thank you,
Stop
Beth.
smiling, then.
I'm not smiling. I'm not. But it is an absolute pleasure to announce that come January, there is going to be a ginger in our midst. Yes. And she is certainly no stranger to a microphone. And when she appeared on the show back in August, it all went terribly smoothly. Christy DeHaven, thank you very much for you being here. Good job. I needed a script.
Do you know
clearly.
what? I think she's starstruck.
Yeah. Don't expect me to talk to you, because I might say something that I'm not supposed to. Don't expect me to look your way in case I lose myself and my emotions stray. And don't ask me to be your friend in case I burn the bridge it took me so long to mend. And don't take this as a personal front. I'm just a little bit worried that I'm a girl undone by you.
Christy DeHaven.
Am I allowed to speak now?
You are allowed to speak now. You've been very good sitting on the sofa there.
It's really difficult not to say anything. I really wanted to. Hello, everyone.
So you were on the show back in August, and it obviously didn't put you off. You saw what it was all about. You saw what we were like, and you came back for more.
And I still came back. Yes, I know. I'm crazy. I'm the
Are
girl
you sure?
undone, clearly.
I have to ask you, are you sure?
I think it's probably a bit late to back out now, isn't it, really?
Yes, it is, Christy,
I
yes.
think it is.
Interestingly, Kate, we did write you, or I did write you a little poem earlier, and you have
I've scribed one
Okay.
for Christy.
Oh, my word. I am honoured.
As I say goodbye to the show, I know that I'll miss Beth and Joe, but I'm happy to say that as of today, Christy DeHaven's going to give it a go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I give you 9.5.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to start on that level,
She's
are
going.
we?
I have to be nice.
Oh, right, okay. So, Christy, what are we going to expect from you in Kate's shoes from January?
Apparently, lots of cake and sweet things, which was a really appropriate thing to bring into the show on the day we had dental nurses. I'm surrounded. I was trying to curry favour, so I brought in cupcakes and mince pies and everything. We can expect. I'm just hoping I can even remotely fill the shoes that Kate is leaving behind, because she's brilliant. And we had a bit of conversation before, a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this, and Kate sent me a lovely message saying it's just a shame we're not going to get to work together, and I wholly agree, because it would be great to work with Kate as well. So, I think you should stay, and we should have 4 ladies in the studio.
Oh dear, the eyes are filling up.
So I'm
Miss
not going to cry
Holland.
till tomorrow.
Oh, don't. But interestingly and very excitingly, it's not only going to be Women Today that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I have been offered a fantastic slot on a Sunday afternoon, which again, it's called Sunday Soundtrack, and it's going to be lots of live sessions from local artists, because I'm a massive supporter of the local music scene over here. So we're going to have live sessions, and also it's going to be sort of lots of varied music throughout the show. So yeah, it'll be great fun. It's a while since I've done anything like that.
That's me and you sorted then.
Oh,
I'll sing off. We're going to go on to Christy's show, the two of us, and do our duet after all this time. I'm so excited
If
now.
you don't do that, I will be terribly disappointed.
And we'll do it in Manx.
Wow. Manx, right?
That's
okay,
mine.
yeah.
That look on your face doesn't go
I'm
with the
getting
words
more
wow.
and more terrified, actually.
I'm getting more and more relieved, Christy.
Kate, can you come back and play the tambourine for us?
I'll Skype you.
I do have to ask you, we were talking about mistletoe. We have been talking about
Yes.
mistletoe throughout the show. Surely you must have been kissed under
I have
mistletoe.
never been kissed under mistletoe, and now I feel aggrieved.
Oh.
I'm going to find some, I think. But once I lose the joke, you said there's lots of it around. Where do I find mistletoe?
Beth's been kissed under the mistletoe, so that's me and you, Christy. We're out in the town.
Yep.
We're going to hit the bars and we're going to get the mistletoe out.
Right?
The sad thing is that I find out tomorrow, because the whole lot of this mistletoe campaign has been pushed by Morrison's, the superstore, and we haven't got one here. So you're going to have to get on a boat and go and buy. Apparently they've got bumper crop over there. So yeah, just a little day trip to Liverpool, find a Morrison's, you'll be fine.
Go on the Women Today Facebook page and someone's recommending where you can get over here. Christy, you'll be all right.
Well, Christy, we are so excited to welcome you on board, and we want as many people who are interested in coming in the show, who've got ideas for the show, who've got ideas for your Sunday programme as well, to get in touch.
Absolutely, please do. There's an awful lot of topics out there we've yet to cover, and there's so many fascinating people on the Isle of Man that we'd love to have on as guests. So yeah, do keep in touch with us.
Well, if you would like to give us any ideas, not that we're desperate for them, because we've got plenty of our own, but womentoday@manxradio.com. You can also go to the Facebook page. We'd like a few more likes on there, probably before Kate goes. You'd like to, get a few
I'd like to finish with a solid couple of thousand. That'd be nice, but might lower my expectations a little bit.
Back to Facebook again, Beth. Yes.
This is the way forward. Listen, Christy is with me on this. Facebook and Twitter is the way forward, yeah?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Just because you've removed the app from your phone.
I have, and I've not been on it, and I just feel cleansed.
You want to see when I walked in here and there was 4 ladies just sat around, all sat on their phones, not talking to each other, just all sat on their phones chatting away.
I was tweeting for Women Today.
So was I.
Yeah.
I was tweeting a photo too.
I was retweeting it.
Thank you for downloading and listening to the Women Today podcast. We can't believe that we've made it to 1 year on air, and to celebrate, we've put together a collection of just some of our highlights. Good afternoon, it's Monday, January the 5th, it's just gone 2 o'clock, and for the first time on Manx Radio, you're listening to Women Today with me, Beth Espy.
Me, Kate Holland.
And me, Jo Pack.
We're joined live today by Victoria Kiswick, who founded Tabitha's Trust with her husband after their baby daughter died at 4 hours old from a rare congenital disorder. Victoria, thank you so much for being with us. Now, we were expecting to be joined today by a psychic, but due to unforeseen circumstances, they have been unable to come in. So, Kate, we're talking about sport.
Tossing then isn't much of an option, because they're just going to fall to bits, make a bit of a mess. Normally, they just won't stand it.
Because apparently there really is a right or a wrong way when it comes to hanging your toilet roll, and incredibly, the issue has got its own Wikipedia page.
Brains, not boobs.
Charlotte, we always ask our guests if they have any ideas. You're looking.
I think maybe pizza pie.
Apparently, it's called ego surfing, but how many of us would actually admit to it? Yep, we're talking about Googling yourself. Sounds a bit wrong, really. But according to a study by the Pew Internet and...
Okay, according to a study by the Pew Internet...
Jo, you are up first. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Jo, your first question. How do you spell Kawasaki?
Kawasaki. Sawaski.
Ooh. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, you missed out an A.
Oh, God, do you know what? Someone's just walked up to me wearing it on their T-shirt. You're too late.
Good afternoon, it's Thursday and this is Women Today with Beth Espy, Kate Holland and Joe Pack. On today's programme we're joined by Katie Mellier and James Toseland, who are here to support the charity.
Pick a time. Taking time.
Beth, what did you just accidentally say into your translator?
I didn't say that! I didn't say that, you were listening to me.
Well, I just so happened to have my guitar in the car. I wasn't threatened on Facebook to be sent home to get it or anything like that. So yeah, it was an honour to be the first live musician that you've had on here.
I knew at some stage he wouldn't be with me forever, but I guess there was part of me that still thought I'd be 60, 70 in my rocking chair, crazy old lady with cats, shouting at him in the garden. So it was a huge shock, something that you can't really put into words. What happened, I guess, really.
When did you find out, so I suppose, the extent of what had happened to her? That she had been murdered and who she'd been killed by?
We actually didn't know how she had died because the police hadn't told us yet. And we were staying at my mum's friend's, and we'd actually gone onto the BBC News and it had been reported.
I always introduce Carol and Sandra as two of the most remarkable people that I've ever met, and I mean that absolutely sincerely. For them to go through what they've gone through and give that back in terms of standing up and talking to young people and letting them know what it means in terms of the hearts and minds side of the business, they are remarkable women.
I think there's many things in my life that it's clear that I now regret. I don't think listing them one by one is really going to help the nation in any way.
It's 12:30 and this girl's going to give me a big kiss.
Oh, thank you ever so much for that.
As long, I just don't want to make a fool of myself, I think is, do people make fools of themselves sometimes? No? Okay. I'm fine. Do you use the F word? No, not that one. Feminism we're talking about.
How do you feel about condoms being handed out to teenagers at high school?
I have mixed feelings about that. I'm not...
Are you sick of talking about the X Factor already?
No, I think just elongate the 15 minutes as long as possible. It's great.
And to talk about this in detail this afternoon, we're joined by, as I say, 3 experienced journalists from across the island's media.
Therefore, nearly all abortions are conducted off-island, and social abortion, so basically that unwanted pregnancy that we're talking about, is still illegal here.
We've also had an email from Laura who says, can you give my friend Hannah Foreman a shout out? She misses home and is listening all the way from New York for some Manx goodness.
Oh, is that a shout out? Is that how you do a shout out? I've never known how you do a shout out.
Hi. That's the shout out.
Hello.
Hello, Hannah.
Hey.
Really, really good.
Is it quite emotional? Feel quite sad?
Yeah.
I can see you feel a bit tearful there, so it's going to be a special place for you to come and remember Joseph as well.
Yeah.
In my opinion, today is an historic day for the Isle of Man. We have the first openly gay leader in our history.
I know people that are doing 150,000 a month.
Beth, you said he wanted to have his voice disguised. You knew that was coming.
It is quite difficult to understand, isn't it?
Are you wanting my opinion on this, or are we just moving swiftly on?
Well, if you can give it to me in 30 seconds.
Wouldn't be the first time.
So they say you should never meet your heroes. I'm a little bit nervous. You're going to let me down.
Oh, gosh, no pressure.
Soon it's 3 p.m. and it's time to go. But don't be sad, because the Women Today team will be back tomorrow. Love, CC, age 8.
I said, are you gonna be my girl?
Well, we're off now until January, so until then, have a very Merry Christmas and a very happy and healthy New Year. Thanks as always to our amazing guests, and as ever, it's never too late for you to get involved. Head over to Facebook, find the Women Today Facebook page, and you can comment there, or you can follow us at MR Women Today on Twitter, and you can listen again to the full programmes on manxradio.com, or join us every weekday live from just after 2 o'clock.
Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.